When you look at today's car industry, it feels like the direction is already decided. Everywhere you turn, companies are talking about electric futures, battery breakthroughs, and a world where petrol and diesel no longer exist. That's why what Mercedes did recently caught so many experts off guard. There was no dramatic reveal, no bold headline claiming the future had arrived. Instead, Mercedes-Benz quietly introduced a new engine, and somehow that silence made it even louder. Because this engine wasn't designed to chase hype, it was designed to deal with reality. From the outside, the EV revolution looks unstoppable. Governments are announcing targets. Advertisements show spotless cities filled with silent electric cars. And every launch event feels like a countdown to the end of combustion engines. But when you move away from presentations and start looking at how people actually live, the picture becomes far more complicated. This is where the real story begins. And this is exactly why Mercedes' decision suddenly feels less like resistance and more like foresight. One of the biggest gaps between vision and reality is infrastructure. EVs don't run on ideas, they run on charging stations. In some major cities, that network is improving fast. But step outside those areas and things change quickly. Long highways, smaller towns, rural regions, and cross-country routes still struggle with reliable charging access. For many drivers, especially those who travel long distances, the fear isn't about technology, it's about getting stuck. That uncertainty quietly shapes buying decisions, even if people don't always say it out loud. And until that fear disappears everywhere, the EV transition remains uneven. Cost adds another layer to that hesitation. Electric vehicles are still expensive in many parts of the world. Batteries remain costly, and while prices are slowly coming down, they're not there yet for everyone. Without subsidies, EVs often feel out of reach for average buyers. On top of that, there's uncertainty about long-term ownership. Questions about battery lifespan, service costs, insurance, and resale value still linger. When someone is making one of the biggest purchases of their life, hesitation is natural. People don't rush into unfamiliar territory unless they feel completely secure. Then there's trust. Petrol and diesel engines have been around for generations. People understand them. They know how they behave, how they age, and how to fix them when something goes wrong. EVs, for many users, still feel like a learning curve. That lack of familiarity becomes even more important for drivers who depend on their car daily, not as a luxury, but as a necessity. This is the background against which Mercedes' new engine makes sense. What's interesting is how Mercedes approached this move. There was no attempt to dismiss electric vehicles or call them a mistake. Instead, the company seemed to pause and ask a different question. What if the transition doesn't happen all at once? What if different regions, customers, and use cases need different solutions? Rather than racing to keep up appearances, Mercedes appears to have chosen balance. This engine isn't about clinging to the past. It's about acknowledging that progress doesn't happen at the same speed everywhere at its core. This new engine is designed around practicality. It isn't a laboratory experiment meant to impress on paper. It's built for everyday driving. One of the biggest improvements lies in efficiency. Not in the flashy sense of suddenly doubling mileage, but in how intelligently fuel is used. Traditional engines often waste fuel in traffic or at low speeds. This engine adjusts itself constantly, burning only what's needed in the moment. The result is smoother operation, less waste, and a driving experience that feels effortless rather than strained. Thermal management is another quiet but crucial improvement. Heat is one of the biggest enemies of engine longevity. Excessive temperatures accelerate wear and reduce reliability. Mercedes focused heavily on maintaining balanced engine temperatures across different driving conditions. Whether the car is crawling through traffic or cruising for hours on the highway, the engine stays within an optimal range. That consistency reduces stress on components and extends overall life. It's not dramatic, but it's exactly the kind of improvement that matters over years of ownership. This attention to detail also plays directly into emissions. Instead of relying on extreme solutions, the engine is designed to meet stricter emission norms through refinement and control. Cleaner combustion, better temperature regulation, and smarter fuel usage all contribute to lower output without sacrificing reliability. Some industry watchers suggest this is Mercedes future-proofing its lineup, while buying time for infrastructure and EV technology to mature further. That framing matters because it positions the engine not as a step backward, but as a strategic bridge. The broader impact of this move reaches beyond Mercedes itself. When a brand with this level of influence chooses not to fully abandon combustion engines, it sends a message to the industry. It suggests that the EV timeline may be more flexible than many assumed. Other manufacturers watching closely may start reconsidering all-or-nothing strategies. Instead of forcing a rapid shift, they might invest more in transitional technologies that keep customers comfortable while the ecosystem catches up. This also changes the conversation around progress. Innovation isn't just about what's newest, it's about what works. A future that people can't afford or trust won't arrive as quickly as predicted. By offering a refined, efficient engine designed for today's world, Mercedes is reminding everyone that transitions succeed when they're realistic. People adopt new technology when it fits their lives, not when it's pushed before they're ready. In the end, this engine isn't meant to compete with electric vehicles. It's meant to coexist with them. It fills the gap between where the world wants to go and where it actually is. And that might be its most disruptive quality. While others focus on tomorrow, Mercedes is quietly making today more manageable. Sometimes, the smartest innovation isn't the loudest one. It's the one that understands timing, and that sense of timing may end up being the most important part of this entire story. The auto industry has a habit of moving in waves. First comes excitement, then pressure, then a rush to not be left behind. Right now, EVs sit at the peak of that wave. But history shows that when industries move too fast without fully preparing the ground, they create friction instead of progress. Mercedes seems aware of that risk. This engine feels like a reminder that evolution works best when it's layered, not rushed. What's also worth noting is how this decision reshapes buyer psychology. When customers see a major brand continuing to invest in cleaner, more efficient engines, it reassures them that they're not making a wrong choice by sticking with combustion for a few more years. That reassurance matters. It reduces anxiety, delays regret, and keeps people engaged with a brand rather than pushing them away with ultimatums. For many buyers, this engine isn't a rejection of EVs, it's permission to wait. There's also a strategic advantage hiding beneath the surface. While competitors pour massive resources into batteries and charging ecosystems that may take years to mature globally, Mercedes maintains flexibility. If EV adoption accelerates faster in certain regions, they're already there. If it slows elsewhere, they still have a refined, compliant solution ready. That adaptability is powerful, especially in a world where energy policies, subsidies, and infrastructure plans can change overnight. Some analysts have started speculating that this move could influence how regulations are approached as well. When manufacturers demonstrate that combustion engines can still become significantly cleaner and more efficient, it opens the door for more nuanced policy decisions. Instead of hard cutoffs, governments may feel pressured to allow phased transitions that include advanced engines alongside electrification. This kind of influence doesn't happen loudly, but it carries weight. Over time, this could lead to a more diverse market rather than a single dominant solution. EVs, hybrids, advanced combustion engines, and alternative fuels could all coexist, each serving different needs. That diversity makes the system more resilient. It reduces dependency on one form of energy and allows consumers to choose based on their reality, not just industry narratives. In that context, Mercedes' engine feels less like a pause and more like a stabilizer. The irony is that, by not shouting about the future, Mercedes may have strengthened its position within it. Innovation isn't always about radical change. Sometimes it's about refinement, patience, and understanding human behavior. People don't adopt technology because they're told to. They adopt it when it earns their trust. And that's why this engine matters. Not because it overturns the EV movement, but because it quietly exposes a truth many prefer to ignore. The road to the future isn't a straight line. It's a series of steps, pauses, and adjustments. By choosing to improve what exists while preparing for what's next, Mercedes isn't slowing progress. It's making sure it actually happens.